Let's get the Ukrainian perspective on this story now. Our Ukraine correspondent is Gulliver Cragg. He joins us live from Kharkiv, the country's second city. Gulliver, what kind of reaction has there been to this prisoner swap where you are, particularly the release of some of those fighters who had been in Mariupol?
Well, these fighters who were defending Mariupol are really regarded as heroes in Ukraine. In almost every city I've been to in Ukraine recently, there's some street art or graffiti celebrating them, although the Azov regiment, from which a large number of these fighters were, does have origins far-right movements. It's really not regarded as a far-right movement in Ukraine. At the moment, these people are absolutely regarded as heroes. There's a moment of great celebration and feeling that they deserve to be freed after the way that they fought so hard to defend Mariupol for such a long time from Russian occupation, though it's worth remembering that there are still hundreds of defenders of Azovstal who are still in Russian captivity, and people are very much hoping that they will be released soon and have little information about how they are. But there's another reason also why this is very significant symbolically for Ukraine, is that it very much appears as a very significant victory for Ukraine. These members of the Azov regiment are absolutely the biggest bogeymen that the Russian media presented in its propaganda as the reason why Ukraine was dominated by neo-Nazis and that they absolutely had to be tried for war crimes, and people in Russia were calling for them to be hanged and so on. And it seems like almost one of the main ostensible purposes presented by the war was to go after these guys. And so to now have set them free, not all of them of course, but dozens of them, in exchange only for basically one Viktor Medvedchuk, pro-Russian politician and oligarch and friend of Vladimir Putin, looks, from Ukraine anyway, like very, very bad optics indeed for the Russians. And it looks like a kind of basically a negotiating failure for the Russians, although of course it's worth underlining that there are 54 other people that were released by Ukraine to Russia in this exchange. We don't know who they are. Maybe they're more important than Viktor Medvedchuk for some reason, but we can really only speculate about that. But there's some sort of perplexity in Ukraine actually as to why the Russians did this and why exactly at this moment, just after announcing a massive mobilization in Russia, which surely might have been the moment to try to double down on the justifications that they presented for the war, rather than apparently casting them aside by releasing the most important commanders of the Azov regiment that they had in captivity.
Really interesting. Thanks for your analysis, Gulliver Cragg, for us there live in Kharkiv, Ukraine.